Thank you for joining the second It's a Vibe, INSO's community vibe coding session. Brilliant to see some new faces. My name's Dan, I'm the founder of INSO, and we're joined with Alex, co-founder of INSO, who's also going to help out run this session. And we're going to build upon what we started last week, which was an introduction to vibe coding using Lovable. I know there's plenty of other tools out there, that's just the one that we use. Definitely want to explore more tools maybe for future sessions, but we're going to use Lovable. And last week we took Stefano's brilliant idea of turning written stories into visually engaging ways to represent that story. So things like comic books, picture books, animated cartoon, all the way through to realistic movies. And clearly we're using an AI engine to help us do that. But the point is that we're building using Lovable the kind of UI UX, so what the user sees as the app. And we came up with something called Magic Stories, which I'll drop into the link now. Into the chat. I'll do that in a second. Alex, actually, if you could do that concurrently, that'd be cool. Because we're going to carry on building that today, because we all believe that there was a few more things that we could squeeze out of that, and that the product in itself had legs, because there's some fantastic ideas that we can use, and it's a perfect example for seeing the power of what vibe coding can offer us. So before we jump straight back into that session, always nice to just do a quick whip around and see who's on the calls. I've introduced myself, so I'll hand over maybe to Alex to go next, and then pick someone else, and then whoever gets picked picks the next person until we've gone around the room. And it'd just be really interesting to know in like 30 seconds who you are, what you do, and what your experience with AI and vibe coding is.
Yeah, awesome. So my name's Alex. I'm co-founder of INSO, currently studying finance and financial technology. And yeah, to be honest, I mean, my experience is vibe coding in kind of every aspect of it. So the way in which you usually get into it is just you have a passion project or idea, and these tools just pop up. So we're currently exploring Lovable, but that expands out into Base 44, Replit, Cursor. Claude Code is really good as well, but it's all about just practicing and diving in headfirst. So without further ado, let's go over to, I know Doug's having breakfast session.
Hi everyone, my name's Hisham. I'm an IT director. I've got a background in software engineering, so I'm more curious about what is possible with vibe coding. I'm not hands-on in my day-to-day job, but I have the background, and I'd like to actually delve in a bit more and learn more about vibe coding as a potential side project and what we can do for it, how we can use it in the business. I do manage a team of developers, but we're currently not using vibe coding. First one, I'm with Terry.
I'm Terry. I've transitioned into software development and then software testing, and then Scrum Master and product owner with Capgemini. But I had a startup idea, so I left to pursue my idea, which I've actually vibe coded on Lovable, which is the prototype, I would call it, which is perfectly workable and adequate for the stage that I'm at, where I just need some initial users, and I found it unbelievable compared to what I used to do. When we were producing software, to be able to iterate really quickly and test things out quickly and get feedback quickly. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's a great tool for certainly the early stages of products. I think it's amazing. So that's me.
Fantastic. Stefano, Sue, Doug?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Stefano. I'm Italian, but living in Switzerland now since 2014. On background in marketing and FMCG international companies, now working as a marketing advisor and consultant, mainly for startups, and very passionate about AI, making it a big, working to make it a big part of my consulting offer. I joined INSO beginning of the year. I found this community very interesting, always new faces and some familiar faces, Doug, for example, on top of Dan, of course. So I'm very happy to be here and make this happen.
Sue, John, jump next.
Hi all. So background, I'm a software developer turned project manager turned now AI implementation consultant. I'm here to have a nosy, see what you're up to, and to sort of make that time to play.
Doug?
I'm creating Factory 2.0, which is a reimagination of Andy Warhol's factory, but taking advantage of all the technical changes that have happened in the meantime, things like mobile, internet, and even AI, and seeing what sort of art we can create using AI. And one thing I thought would be good would be a vibe coding installation, but I think we can use vibe coding for more than that.
Fantastic. We always seem to draw developers in, which is great because I guess they're the people that challenge vibe coding the most, right? I'm talking to a lot of people about it, and you get kind of developers who seem very pro vibe coding and are keen to learn more about it and see how they can utilize it. You get some who are like, vibe coding is terrible and it's going nowhere and you'll always need human developers. And you also get people who just, a bit like me, I had no coding background, but for me, vibe coding gave me a set of arms that I could start playing with ideas and taking ideas out of my head. And for me, it's been a fantastic tool. Just want to caveat this call. Last week, we spent a large section in the middle of the call talking about going live and monetizing ideas, which are all worthwhile conversations. And of course, that's what people really care about if they're building fantastic tools using it. But it can distract from what the purpose of this session is, which is, to Sue's point, is to have fun and build. So I would just urge us to not worry about going live and monetizing and turning it into a real production product with full security and all that sort of stuff. I will touch upon Lovable security. It's got built-in security checks and things like that, which is worth noting. But let's keep this session about the build and kind of let's push the capabilities of Lovable or vibe coding products. And we can maybe arrange a separate session. I actually had an idea that we would dedicate one of these sessions to invite founders that have launched products that are out there in the wild, that are making money, and learn the stories about how they built and converted their idea. And we can have a dedicated call to discuss that. So yeah, if we start to talk about monetization and going live, then I'll try and rein that in just back to the build to keep it fun and productive. So without further ado, I'll share my screen and we should all be able to soon see what we built last week. Let me know if you can see that. Nice. Okay, so this is Lovable and this is Magic Stories, Magic Moments. I think we changed some wording. And for those who haven't seen Lovable before, I'll just give a quick whistle-stop tour of the platform. So this is Lovable. If you go back to the dashboard, this is what it looks like when you first log in. And you would drop your first prompt into here, which would then generate an app below here, your own projects. If you wanted to see what else is being released by the Lovable community, you can access them all here as well. So really nice, I think a really nice UI. You can kind of manage your accounts and credits and stuff up here. So last week, for all intents and purposes, we dropped in a pretty basic prompt. We didn't spend too long engineering that prompt. We just dropped in almost the first thing that came to mind and we iterated off that. Now, one lesson learned from last week and from indeed playing with my own projects is the first prompt is very important for landing on the closest thing that you want to build. So it's definitely worth spending some time thinking about that first prompt and engineering it in a way, using AI to even help craft that in a more AI friendly way so that you can have a better starting point. But we landed on this and it created this. We didn't really play with the UI at all. This is exactly how it gave it to us, where you drop in your story as text, choose a format that you want to export it to, press transform story, and it does, and then the AI engine kicks in. Lovable itself functions on credits. So up here in the top left, you can see your credits of your project. So we had 100 credits last week. We used about 25, I think, for the project. I've used a few for my own projects this week. But today we have 59.4 credits left. We have 5 free credits that Lovable give you every day, which is quite useful. So we can keep track of our credits here. And the way credits get consumed now that Lovable's made agentic mode its default, is that if you give a prompt that's something very simple, it will use, say, 0.1 credits. If you ask it to redesign the entire back end, it's going to use more credits. But I've never really seen a prompt use more than 3 credits. So you can pretty much go as complex as you want and know that it's not going to just swallow up 60 credits in one go. And we'll keep track of the credits today to get a feel for kind of the complexity of the task we're going to iterate and get the product doing and how much credits that use. But it's pretty good. And I definitely prefer it to the old model where each prompt used 1 credit. So if you asked it to change a piece of text, it would use 1. And if you asked it to do something complex, it would use 1. And many people were trying to hack that and try and get 3 actions in 1 prompt, which only then kind of confused the system and meant that all 3 things got done really badly. So I think it's a good model, and I prefer this model. Here on the left, you've got your chat, which is how we tell Lovable what we want it to do. You can put it into chat mode where it's just going to talk to you and not make any changes to the code. If you take it out of chat mode, this is where anything you say is going to be treated as an instruction. Yeah, so I'm just going to move this. It's really annoying. Screen is anyway, there's a little plus icon there that's hidden really annoyingly behind a zoom icon that I can't move, which is where you can attach files, images, videos, take screenshots directly from Lovable, which only helps to reinforce your prompt, so you don't have to try and describe everything. You can say, look, this is what I see. do something with this. Visual edits is a really cool feature where if you want to make a change directly to a specific thing within the page, you can point to it and then it's going to isolate the change to the thing you've pointed it to instead of trying to describe. There's two ways of doing it. Let's say I wanted to change the header. I could say transform stories into magical moments into transform stories into magical films or whatever it is. I could either describe that and then Lovable would need to kind of know where that points, or I can use visual edits to point to the thing that I want to specifically change. So again, more efficient from a credit consumption point of view. And here you can do voice prompts, but I never use that. I just type and this is where you send.
Actually, jump in
Yep.
one tip here, Dan. So if you wanted to update the UI, what you can more often than not do is actually just find a website that you really, really like. So let's say you like Uber's kind of sleek, minimalist, black and white feel. You can just drop that URL into it and it will update all the elements basically. So that's one thing to note that is kind of a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's so good at kind of taking instructions, visual or written, or links. It's quite impressive. And we can do that later on. There was a guy called Rob who was on last week, 20 years in UI UX. He was hoping to jump on today and he was going to try and work on some graphics that he thought would be a better starting point for this. And we were going to try those, but maybe he'll join next week. The next thing up here, which is for the more technical people, you'll like this, is that you can access the code directly. So this is the entire code that supports what we're looking at. You can make direct changes in here. So if I want to change the wording in that example I gave before, I'd have to find that code. But for example here, this is text that appears on our, and if I want to make the change directly in the code, it doesn't use any credits. So for coders, it's great. For people like me that are lazy, I can't be bothered to find the code often, so I just get the AI to do it. But it's all there. The cloud is where we look at what's going on in the back. So when we first created this last week, it was just the kind of front end, and as we tried to get the AI to work, we realized there was no AI actually hooked up to it. So these were kind of subsequent prompts and building, we've got avatars, we've got some kind of back end storage, we've got some edge functions now, which are what drives the actions behind it. We've got AI engine hooked up to it, and you can see our usage again. Clearly, that was heavier usage last week, and we're starting to do some more stuff today. The different models that we've called upon. And point to note here is that Lovable has its own AI in cloud now, so you don't have to hook up to other products. So previously, Lovable, you'd have to hook up to Supabase, which was still easy, but it was still kind of more friction in the process. And you still can, if you want to, of course, use another provider. But Lovable make it seamless to integrate its own AI, and they have a similar sort of credit-based model there, where you pay for credits, and once they get consumed, the AI engine stops. So it's super easy. You can manage API secrets. You can see the full logs of your app. You can see if there's any users who have signed up, and you can see here that we had a Gmail test account used last week, and we can look at the database for anyone who's interested in databases and seeing how that works.
Can I ask a question? On one of my other apps, I used this instead of using Supabase directly. The cloud costs seem to be quite a bit higher than directly through Supabase, because I know for Supabase for $25 a month you can get quite a lot of read and write, whereas I was testing mine thoroughly and the costs were going up. So my only concern is they haven't actually put the rates anywhere where you can find, because I've looked for them. I know that the AI costs are pretty much standard, as if you were calling the LLM through the API, but the cloud costs are a slight concern to it at the moment, because I think they're still working it out. Right. So if I was to sort of build an app from the offset using this and then decide this is scaling and it's becoming expensive, I don't think you can retract back off the cloud back onto Supabase once you've committed.
That must be part of their business model, right? Make their product as sticky as possible. Like most people most people are going to jump for the easiest solution, which is to just use their AI model, which you can change the underlying model. Like for another project I was working on, by default it gave me Gemini 2.5, and then it realized that actually what I was trying to do was more suitable to GPT, and it said, look, we recommend you switch. It costs a little bit more to use this, but it's going to deliver the results, and it worked. But the different, the GPT model worked so much better. Yeah, and I imagine that's part of the business plan, right? Like hook them in using use their own cloud, get them on the AI. Then people aren't going to want to change that for risk of breaking everything else, and therefore they're kind of fixed to those costs and they kind of slave to them. Absolutely. Like Alex and I have spoken before about this. Even us running these, right? We're using their cloud and their AI, and we were like, maybe it would be more cost efficient for us to hook up to a different, to an external source and use that for the purpose of this. Like we were not talking about data.
I think for things like MVPs and prototypes, it's absolutely perfect. I just want them to kind of, I think it says that the prices are getting changed in December, or it's like a trial to see how people use it. My only concern was if somebody committed to doing something that was maybe they were going to go into production, they have no idea how much it's going to cost in the future. Whereas obviously with Supabase come by, I think this feature's just made it so much more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, do you want to, sorry, Alex, you go.
Yeah. So as Dan said, I mean, if you look at the business model, it's very much consumer grade and kind of low level. So as again, you guys have been saying, you want to prototype, get the MVP up as fast as possible, and then export into your own kind of AWS or Cell or however you want to host it. That being said, though, I mean, yes, it is expensive, but as SaaS is, hopefully the business model or the use case would be niche enough and good enough to be able to self-sustain initial traction. So what you can do is, yes, the Supabase might be, whatever, more expensive than underlying, but if you've got traction and you've got people buying, then that's kind of all you need, right? So you don't want to shift too early either and fall into a bold trap and kind of export everything and privatize it and do it with whatever systems you have. You kind of want to keep it on Lovable or Cursor or whatever it may be for as long as possible.
Yeah. And while we're here then, okay, I don't want to go too far down the kind of costs and the practicalities of using this long term, but while we're here, like, you can very easily manage your plans. I think the lowest plan is $15 a month to keep projects active, and here you manage your cloud usage. So in this case, yeah, we can see we've got $25 of free balance. We've only used 0.05 cents. Last week we rinsed through this £1 free AI balance pretty quickly, so we've put 20 quid on today, and we'll see where that goes. And we can like with the credits for building, we can also check in at the end to see how many AI credits we've used as a result of our testing, because I want to get this product out to us real time and people stress testing the products as we go, which will start to consume these $20 that we've stuck on for today. So okay, cool. Well, I'll jump back into the project itself and then just very quickly walk through Lovable or attach your own if you've got it. If you've got Teams, you can use a business in your workspace. You can do review security, and point to note here is that you can do this at any point if you want, and it's free. It doesn't consume any credits because Lovable want to release good, secure products. And you can do an update. It takes maybe 5 minutes to run. It comes up with a bunch of things that you can then fix all for free again. It doesn't use any credits to fix any things it identifies. Gives you a full kind of brief here with a caveat saying, obviously, it says this is just an online test. You should, if you're going to release anything sensitive, you should get it externally penetration tested, etc. But the point is that they don't limit you to one scan a day. You can do this every single time you make an update if you want, and it's up to the user to do that before they press release.
One thing to also note, sorry, Dan, so just watch out with your API keys. I don't know if once you publish it, and you know how you said there was a community section. So once you publish it by default, all these projects are public. So if you've prompted it, use this API key within it, and it can they see your chat history when you've
I don't think so, but it definitely picks up that as I've had products before with API keys that have been exposed and it said, look, recommend adding an extra layer in or something. But this is really good. Like when you add an API key now in the chat, it prompts you to add them as inputs as opposed to text inputs, which then drops them into the back end function here where you manage your secrets. So it by default it prevents you from pasting keys in. And I've had it before where I've pasted a key into the chat and it said, look, like, you sure you want to send this because it's got an API key in it. So even that's getting better, and it's all again managed in the back here. All right. Any questions on Lovable's kind of core layout before we just start building again, I guess?
I've just got a comment, and that is you referred to yourself as not being a coder, and you prefer to do things without tinkering with the code. But sometimes it's quite easy to tinker with code. If you just want to change magical moments into melting moments or something, then you can search for magical changes.
It's a good point. Because I've been conscious of using credits, and as I've become more competent with vibe coding, I increasingly find myself spending time in here, whether that's looking directly or even finding the right place and pasting the code into another AI model to say, look, I'm getting this frustration. I can't fix this item in Lovable. Can you just review this code and maybe make any suggestions? And sometimes I paste in new components and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I did explore. So last week I said I was going to give some feedback on an idea I had where it was opening up this inside an AI engine such as, I don't know, like Comet is one I use.
So I use the visual edits though, can't you, Dan, for quick changes?
Yes, for specifics. Yeah. So in this case, this is a project we're working on, and you can have an AI browser that has an AI chat on the right, which is looking at what you're looking at in here. And to be honest, it wasn't that effective. Like, I'm either getting it wrong, but what I was hoping is that actually it would be monitoring, acting as an AI four eyes on what I was doing and helping me kind of remove some human emotion, or if I'm over humanizing my prompts, that it would do that. And actually, even it would generate kind of AI friendly prompts, and I'd put them into here and kind of bounce between the two. It wasn't that effective. So I think I think Lovable's maybe optimized slightly for more human content. I don't know. Maybe that's something I just need to play around with a bit more, and maybe it's me getting that wrong, but that's definitely an idea I'm playing around with. Okay, yeah, so what I want to do now, instead of jumping straight into the build like we did last week, what I would like to do is actually talk through the app that we've got now and maybe identify 2 new features that we'd like to get working and iterate and improve the product on in this call, that we can kind of go away and say, did we achieve that? Last week, I think we were a bit too broad and we just kind of said, hey, let's just add this, let's add that, without really thinking about the product and what we were doing. We were just doing it for the sake of doing it to show what we did. So we went down a slight rabbit hole in terms of getting the upload PDF to work. And what we wanted there was to upload a PDF story and then access the same functionality here. Got a little bit down a build trap and it distracted from the session. So not sick of my voice. And I want us to come up with 2 ideas. We might split into 2 groups, or if we choose to work through them together, I'd like everyone here to design at least 1 prompt today that you drop in on the chat, and we drop it in on here and we see what happens to your prompt. So you get a bit of hands-on experience prompt engineering and seeing how your words impact the thing we're looking at. Yeah, I want us to ideally finish the session having achieved a satisfactory level of functionality of whatever 2 features we'd like to build. I know Stefano had some good ideas for where this could go last week. Rob certainly had some good ideas. And I've got some ideas, having mulled it over for a week now. So yeah, over to Alex to kind of coordinate and facilitate that. We have the Zoom whiteboards available as well, link in the chat. That's where we can sketch some ideas. If it's not something we want to talk about or use the kind of basic chat functionality on Zoom, we've got the whiteboard as our messy area just to ideate, sketch, kind of work out what we want. So Alex, I'll hand over to you for the next 15 minutes or so, and then yeah, let's come up with 2 ideas and yeah, what we want to build.
Awesome. So I think let's split it down the middle. So we've got I'll chuck you guys in breakup rooms, but we'll put Dan, Terry, and Stefano in 1. So that should be, there's 6 of us on the call. No, 7. Let's see. Great. I'll chuck you guys into breakout rooms and then we'll take it from there.
Let's just do 5 minutes with us all, though, to make sure we're not going to both design the same thing. So let's have a group chat and make sure we come up with 2 separate items. And then once we've defined those 2 things, we can then go to breakout rooms and then make sure we build
nice.
something down.
Okay,
Yeah, the teams.
Can I intercept here? Something that in fact can be useful for everyone. So, of course, I had some thought about it during the week, and one thing I realized is that we should. I mean, if you want to be serious with this, okay, we are using to learn Lovable, but who knows? Maybe one day will become something we decide to make it open. We need to be careful about copyrights. So, what we cannot allow is that people take a piece of a book, of a famous book like Cinderella, pasted it and make it his own visualization, because that would be complicated. So that is some
guardrails into the app, or
yeah. So to overcome that, of course, we can put disclaimers, whatever. But at the same time, because you ask, can there be a new feature to add? At this moment, the window of the app says, write your story, right? And I don't know if I know how to write a story. So why don't we integrate a story writer, something that helps me to write a story? And then the story becomes the base for the visualization. So I would like something, as a consumer need, I would like something that takes few inputs. I want a story about, and we gave few options, fantasy, sci-fi, real life, whatever, about one kid, is a boy, is a girl, whatever. Define the context. So imagine that we are prompting, and we can find a way to help prompting to create a story, and then this story become the base for the visual. What are the benefits of this approach? Not only the legal part, but also to maintain the freshness of the tool. Because every time you access, even if the variables are still the same, you can save it somewhere. Because I have a boy of 3.5 years and for 1 year, this is what it is. I can save it somewhere, but then every time I open the app, the machine can give me new stories to create, This would be an interesting returning factor to the app.
Yeah, and we started to, while you guys were talking last week, I was kind of building something similar, right? So I think Rob wanted to know, like that's a perfect feature to build, right? Because that's something within the
Yeah.
app. It's not
Okay.
necessarily using AI. Like what I want to avoid is building features that just rely on the AI model to do the magical stuff. Like in our case before, it was like we input text, we choose an output, AI does the magical stuff, and we review what the AI output. We're not really testing what the app's functionality there. And I like this feature that you just described, Stefano, because we can build a really nice intuitive UI here. We were talking before about customizing characters and like adding personalized. So I can add my daughter's name as the main character, or I can add someone like an evil person as the protagonist and customize it a bit further, which would require quite a unique, like a dynamic UI. So we've got this page that I'm showing now. Am I still sharing, by the way? I think I am. And we can build this out, right? So that's a great feature. But yeah, anyone check out, this is a conversation. Just if you have an idea for something that would be good. I had an idea, but I don't want to hijack the session too much. So over to you guys. If you've got a really good idea that you think would add value to this product, let's chuck it out there and let's find two worthy ideas and build them.
What models are the animated cartoon and movie?
They're using, so we look here, we look at our AI at the moment. It's using Flash image for any image generation and then Flash for text.
So it's not video.
Well, we built a realistic movie thing, but it's not hooked up. So I assume yes, it would need to be hooked up to whatever video gen
Right.
Lovable has access to. And if it doesn't, then that would be a case when we'd obviously need to API it into one that we did. Albeit I used VO 3.1 the other day and I was utterly disappointed with it. But anyway, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Anyway, yeah, but that's a good example there. It's like we all know what that would look like. Do we really need to hook it up to an AI engine to see what it produces? Is that testing us and improving our ability to use Lovable? Maybe to the limit of being able to hook up an external API, but we got comic book work in, so maybe we could picture these, which are just again visuals. But yeah, let's give some thought to ideas.
Awesome. So we've got a story writer, which is our first idea. Do we have any others that we want to kind of dive into on this?
Okay, if no one goes, I'll go next because I've got one that I think could be quite nice. If this app ever became like this, we're talking about this at the moment as quite a personal thing. Like I log in, I can save my stories. But what if we turn this into a storytelling platform where, a bit like Lovable, where you can share community projects, you can have your own stories. We literally copy the Lovable model, where if you publish them, it puts them into the community to let other people build on that story. And then for anyone that resonated with that story within the Magic Stories community, you'd then form relationships about, it's a bit like being a pen pal, but instead of writing to each other about what you're doing in life, maybe you can have like 3 or 4 people collaborating to build a story together. And if someone had an idea in the middle of the night, they could go on and make the change to the story. And there could be like, we could leverage some of these stuff from like Word, where you have like track changes, where it doesn't just change automatically. The suggestions need to get voted up and stuff like that before they get implemented. I don't know, that was my idea, turning it into a community platform.
Awesome.
I think that's a great thing. I used to go to a writing club, and some of the best things were community stories where we took turns at writing chapters. So that does work. It's a good thing. So good idea.
Okay. Well, now speak now or forever hold your peace, because we'll choose 2 items that we want to build by the end of the week, and we'll divvy them up to each team, and we'll go away and think about the design of those. And what really we need to get to is a point where we've got that first prompt engineered that introduces this feature, because all we need to do is say in this chat here, build me X, and it will do it, and then we'll iterate on that, and we'll maybe do like rounds of 3 prompts. So we'll do like the first prompt to create it, 2 rounds to it, like first prompt to create it, a round of testing, prompt, round of testing, prompt, round of testing, and then come back together and find out and talk about our findings. Obviously, Alex and I hold the pen to the version of Lovable, so any prompts that we've got need to be like agreed in your team and dropped onto the centralized chat. So either Alex or I can drop that into the main thing, and we'll share it and watch each prompt happen real time together, so we learn, what worked well in the prompt and what didn't. Any points before we go?
I love this community thing. I think has a potential that you just still planted a seed in my brain. But imagine if, people at the same time can start using this app to test their ideas.
Yeah, like what, like writing, like story, like writers.
Yeah. I mean, like
writers,
I put it here, I see the traction of it because it's going to be shared in some Lovable community or somewhere else. And,
You got my brain thinking now. It could be a bit like there's, the term's gone out of my head, but when you put an idea out there, like crowdsourcing, So like if everyone upvotes it, you can kind of pitch in, and if you crowdsource it and then it gets enough funding, it gets produced like self-production lines hooked straight into Amazon and things like that with pre-sales and things like that. I don't know. Obviously, we're going down. This is the beauty of vibe coding, right? All of this is possible, but we need to not go down that build trap and kind of let's stay. If we can get the first part working, then it might unlock some ideas for phase 2, phase 3.
And I don't want to derail the conversation again. Could be an idea for monetization.
Okay, so we stop.
I stop it here. I stop it.
Let's stop recording. Are we going? Are we all in on this? Okay, we're going 6 ways on this business. We're quitting our day jobs tomorrow and going all in on Magic Stories.
We can get votes on chapters.
Yeah.
Rewrite the next chapters as people start coughing up money.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you guys remember the $1 million website? So it was probably Y2K. It was before my time, and you could essentially buy a pixel. So we could do the same thing for ideas or chapters or whatever the medium is.
By a sentence.
Buy a character so that you can pay, and you will be the hero or you'll be the villain.
Oh, this is. I love this.
Name it after a person you hate.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So if you, it costs more to buy a main character or a supplement. Oh my God, there's so many ways of doing it. You can even layer this with your own, because we're turning these into visuals, right? If you want your AI avatar to be the main character in the comic book, you pay more for that. Anyway, I didn't want to get down the monetization.
No, my fault. Let's stay on making MVP.
Okay. So 2 features, right? And I guess team 1 is, as Alex broke them up, Dan, Terry, and Stefano, and team 2 is everyone else. Yeah. We've got 2 items. So the first one is an integrated story writer to help us write stories better. And the second feature we want to launch today is a community element to the app where we can share stories and collaborate together with all the features that come with that. Let's kind of draw that. Yeah, we're not going to go down the kind of monetization. If we can get those 2 things working to satisfactory level by the end of the session, I'd class that as a success. Which team wants each item, and then we'll go into breakout rooms to kind of talk through our ideas, and then we'll give it like 15 minutes in the breakout rooms and then come back. And by the end of that 15 minutes, we need our first prompt designed that we're going to in turn drop them into the system and see what happens with those prompts. So
because I missed the first session, if we put the prompts in, does it just create it from start to finish, or does it do it step by step?
Depends, right?
So if you put it into chat mode, as I mentioned earlier, which doesn't make, you can get it to plan with you. So you can say, here's my idea, let's come up with a plan to implement this, and it will then give you an option, implement all or just implement phase 1.
Inside the comic book.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant practically in Lovable. Sorry, say your question again then. What would that?
If you type in your story, does it create you the book from start to finish?
Okay, well, should we, okay, good point. Let's have a look at what we've got right now. So there was a boy called Doug who loved art and wanted to find new and innovative ways to bring art to life. But the evil dragon hated art and wanted to eat Doug. I don't know. Random story. That's a good story, right? So in theory, because we've got some AI credits here, we generate that, we select the comic book and we transform story, and it's creating magic for us now as we speak. Please don't ask me to upload a PDF because that broke me last week. So you can export that as a PDF. We got the export working. So let's check that out. I'll show you proof that it works, right? So this feature worked in 1 hit. So yeah, Doug, a young boy with artistic flair, worked diligently in finance. So it actually gives you kind of prompts on that. And then the evil dragon has been introduced. And yeah, he starts to get Doug. So you can see how, like, off a few sentences, it's generated 4 very kind of visual, powerful descriptions. It's cool, right? I think that's pretty good. And you can saves your stories. So in theory, this should work now because we hooked this up. Yeah. So it saved our story. So this is kind of the start of I don't want to engineer solutions, but the save story is the kind of part that you would, if we were going to work on the thing, you'd kind of release this. This is either private or public, but yeah, and then we could iterate on that. So yeah, we got the infrastructure in place and it works, and the AI engine hooks up. We didn't get these 3 working. I think we only got comic book. I think some people tested and it produces the same thing. So we'd need to tell the AI to differentiate the different styling between what we wanted to see in a picture book versus an animated cartoon, which I assume we need video. But anyway, that's what we got working last week, alongside all those other discussions and derailings and things like that. Pretty good starting point for us, I think. Who wants to take? We've got 15 minutes to break out now. Who wants to take? So I'll Alex, Stefano, Doug, and Sue. Which one do you want?
We'll take the story collaborator. Doug, you came up with the story writer though, didn't you? So I'm going to switch you with, let's say, Sue, and then we'll jump in from there.
So the teams are
Where am I going?
me, Terry, and Sue are in team looking at how we write stories, yeah?
Okay.
And then Alex, Stefano.
So we've got room one, Dan. Let's see. We've got Dan, Doug, and Terry. Just going to exchange that quick. And you guys have the story writer. And then room two, we've got Hesham, Stefano, Sue, and myself. And we're doing the collaborator.
Everyone happy with those teams?
Yeah.
Nice one. All right. Well, yeah, we're going to join our breakout rooms. You should all see the stop and join now. And yeah, 15 minutes. We'll come back and we'll be ready with our first prompt to drop into the...
And Dan, I'll be able to join until 11:30.
Fine. No, but these are drop in, drop out. Like, come and go as you please. Oh, look at that. We're the only ones on time. We're a minute late and the others are still going.
Where's the wife? I'm gonna. Have we got what we need then?
Yeah, we got the prompt like that. That's what we need. We're going to do 3 rounds of iterations of that, so we'll see what it looks like. But I'm going to message Alex and say, get out here. Hey, the other one. Yeah, good. I was just about to message you, Alex.
We were off on one.
Oh, so were we. Have you got your prompt?
Oh, do you guys have your prompt ready and everything?
Yeah, you have to leave. Okay, well, we go first, right? We'll go first in that case. So while you guys are, do you want 1 more minute in your breakout room to come up with prompts?
Could do it.
Yeah, what we can even do, to be honest, is just ChatGPT voice mode it, just talk through our idea.
Hey, Alex, you like how I did it. So we ideated on the whiteboard. I took a screenshot of those sticky notes and I dropped that into Perplexity and helped it generate prompts. Just saying. I'm going to, in fact, I'll drop in our
having a take off right now.
While it's working, let me make sure you can see my screen. Okay, let me know when you can see this. Cool. So our prompt, I'm going to drop it into the chat, and hopefully you can all have a chance to read that. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. In fact, actually, let me just share the window. It's easier to see on here. Can everyone see the whiteboard now? Okay, so this was our prompt. Just talking through the logic very quickly. Doug had some really cool cards that help generate stories. We then chose some of those and prioritized them into what we thought would be the core things you need to define before you start writing a story, and that the AI could ultimately help craft version 1 with. So we looked at why you're writing the story in the first place, and that was a free text field. We imagined it to be genre, which is a drop down. We're not reinventing genres. Free text, scene, free text, and then define the characters of your story. That screenshot here was dropped into Perplexity, which created this. We tailored the prompt ever so slightly to point it to the existing story page, which obviously Perplexity didn't know about. Doug added the last, an extra thing, which is intended audience, which is really important, which we thought would be a drop down. So if it's for kids, for adults, but that one needed a free text field to provide additional context. So that's our prompt. Let's drop that into here and see what it does. While that's working, you guys can define your prompt.
Great. Can everyone? Yeah. Okay. So let's actually, Doug or Sue, Hesham, whoever, let's define it. I'll type it up and just kind of give a brief overview of how we've discussed it thus far for MVP stage 1. Okay. I'll jump in then. So,
Sorry.
Are you going first, Stefano?
I was distracted by a message. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No worries. Do you mind just briefing everyone on MVP stage 1?
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So we discussed about how to make it a the community idea, the idea you throw. That's also why probably we were not jumping into prompting something. We were more thinking how the architecture of this community should look like. We discussed a few options, but we came back again always to try to focus on something that is a minimal viable product eventually to test and learn later on. So the cool idea of it is that really people can access to what a person ideate in terms of story and create visually and use it for their own purpose. And we discussed about the possibility to add a rating system that should be a single rating, not people repeating and voting the same story 10 times. That would create a higher visibility of the story into the ecosystem. So the brilliance of this idea is not only to, for example, just make your work available, but also, for example, for creators, as we said, also to start making their initial work potentially visible to others. And then we just on the surface touch the topic again of this could become an opportunity for monetization. For example, how can we monetize the idea that people wants to print in a book these things, or create a community that with a minimal money of subscription they can access free for 3 story a month, for example, or 5, or pay X money and then you have an access unlimited to the library available. Or if you're a creator, maybe you can pay a little bit more because you have a second goal out of it. But overall, the idea of a community for us makes a great sense. At least as a minimum viable product to test first should be really to ideate a story and publish a story the way he likes, the way he wants it, and then people just have access to it, download it on their phone or and use it. An idea, and then I close, of co-creation. We started thinking about it. It's not so easy, but I think it would be also an interesting way. For example, the idea to have a character, so somebody ideate a character and that remains the character, but then people can decide to create a story about that character, right? So
that's a good idea. You've prompted me there. Like you could even, if you weren't good at creating whole stories, but potentially just creating new characters, you could almost like drop open source characters in there that people can use. And is that it?
Always refer to my kid as the guinea pig of this project. But I imagine that if Sue creates this brilliant character, but she makes for any reason 1 story a month, I know for sure that my kid wants a new story every night. So I can use the character, and then I can use your story generator on what she can get royalties out of it. I don't know. We can.
Anyway, we're monetization here. Monetization. Anyway, okay, great. Let me just share my screen. So my prompt's done. That took 25 seconds of thinking. It made 3 edits just out of interest. I can't remember how many credits we were on before. I think 59.4, something like that. So it used less than 2 credits to implement our version 1, and let's see what that looks like. So in theory, when I open up Create Story, we should see a different form, which we do. Can everyone still see my screen, just to make sure I'm not looking at it myself? Yeah. Okay, so great. So we've got what we wanted to see was a why, purpose, motivation, a genre, which has picked the core genres, so we can control this drop down list, obviously, but it's from our free examples. I think we only gave it a few examples of genres. It's gone and looked at more. Intended audience, perfect. It's come up with some options there, and it's given us additional context. File, free text as asked for. It's useful that it's put in some placeholder text to prompt people. Opening scene. Did we ask for that, or did it put that in there? I think that's quite a nice feature. Okay, characters. I specified I wanted to be able to add multiple characters. So here it's exactly as I visualized. I want to be able to add more characters. I want to be able to set the role. There we go. It's come up with drop downs. It's come up with some demographics and persona. We didn't really. I think we did. We did mention that. So that's awesome, right? And we can delete. So it's come up with a function where we can delete them if we over add. And then it's anticipated that we want to generate a story off the back end of that. So I think that's a pretty good starting point. I mean, obviously we need to check it works, but I think that's a value add to our product. So team 2, if you've got your prompt ready, we'll take it.
Nice. Yeah, Dan, I've dropped it in the main whiteboard. If you just copy and paste that on over, it should be like
got it.
10 credits worth.
You've won up us with the emojis. Okay, so I'm going to just drop this in as is and see what happens. Do you want to talk that prompt through, or is everyone kind of happy based on Stefano's description? Is that largely in line, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just run through it quick, just on the main points, just so we know what to expect or not to expect. So first one, local story saving. That was kind of broken in our current version. And online story saving. So those are 2 big things, as well as the ability for communities to interact, that being both in sharing, downloading, rating, and commenting. And then the kind of biggest ship of this one is the ability to be able to steal not steal characters, but ideate on characters. So if I had Batman in one of my stories, I could go to that story, say, use Batman in this story. It could be a completely different one. It could be a cooking show now, but Batman has like the majestic, nonchalant attributes. That one might be a bit complicated, but it's interesting to see how it's going to handle that.
Incredible. Well, I'll get that going. So I'm going to paste that in. Let's see what happens. So what were we on there? We're on.
Does it help to say, "Oh, that's brilliant. You've done really well"?
I sometimes do, but I think a lot of people say never thank AI because it wastes energy elsewhere in the world. I don't know. I like to give it positive feedback, so I just say that was good. But I think it's wasted prompts. I don't know. Like in this case.
The effect it has on you personally, though, could be worth
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's
It's
yeah.
also interesting though, the way that AI works in most cases is it doesn't actually have history, so it stitches together like the whole prompt. So it adds the whole prompt plus thank you and then processes that. So it is quite computationally expensive to do that.
Right. Okay. So your prompt was so complicated that it's anticipated a phased approach, and I'm really glad that Lovable's doing this because before it would have just done that, and it may have made assumptions for you. So I don't know if for anyone who saw my recent LinkedIn post on AI, this is kind of one of the features I wanted, where instead of it just going, instead of making assumptions, ask us, and this is perfect. Like I've never seen this before.
Good, because I'd normally, if it was implementing a few complex features, I'd normally do it in the chat to find out what it was going to do before I committed to changing anything.
Awesome.
Because
It's anticipating.
They're obviously listening to people.
So team two, what do you want to go with? Build everything now. We'll go for phase one, and let's be bold. Build everything now.
I'd say go for phase one. Let's try break it.
I will go for phase one, community and social at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
RMB.
Okay.
We're boring, aren't we?
Fine.
It should generate a QR code though, so we'll be able to test it in real time.
Yeah, well, after this, what we'll do is I'm going to publish the app as in its latest version, noting there might be some security things, but there's no data in it, so that's fine. And then you can all work off the live app, and we can stress test it and burn through those AI credits that we put on this morning. So get it.
That won't work until the save is fixed.
Okay, so
Unless it fixes it as it goes.
I think that is in phase one, but we'll see.
okay, well, we'll see. Well, what we're going to do now, we'll put it back into the team's hands to iterate our second prompt to improve the features. So we can either test our own features or just test the app generally. I think maybe testing is probably best not like over specified, like just let people play, come up with things. But again, when we iterate, we're going to iterate on our specific features as opposed to try and just add something new. So our second prompt will be related to our first prompt, but happy to stress test the whole app for people. You may need to sign up just with a dummy email address. It doesn't actually send anything, but I don't know if it will handle multiple people using my test credentials, but I'll drop those in on the chat anyway, just in case. But this is going to take a while to work, so do that while we're waiting.
When we did the INSO app, Dan, that was multiple users, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I built one top tip for anyone building on here is I built the security layer before I got the app working, which meant that every time I wanted to get in, I had to re-sign in. So my suggestion would be get the app working without a login layer, so you can just work inside the app and then build the login layer as the final piece. But in this case, because we wanted to save stories, it needed some kind of username to save it to. So I can look at the users that we've got signed up.
In Superbase, you can switch that on and off, but I'm not sure inside Lovable it has all of the features of Superbase. If it's like a cut down version, I think.
I think it looks like it's cut down. Or maybe I don't know. Actually, maybe that would be. I don't know. It's one to look at afterwards. But let me drop it in on the chat. Feel free to use this if it doesn't work because we're all using it. It might break, but obviously that's not a real email address. Ooh, okay, how are we looking on the prompts? Oh wow, you've broken. Okay, it's doing something weird.
The general rule
It's
of
still
thumb,
going,
the more
though.
prompts you do, the more things just break. So it kind of becomes like exponentially.
It hasn't broken.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it's 10 edits made. It's done it. Okay, so how yours only used, that's ridiculous. It used less than a prompt. It used 0.7 prompt. 0.7 credit, sorry. That's crazy. No, it's still going. That's why it's still working. How are we looking for time? We've got 45 minutes left, so I reckon we get our two prompts in each finished. Saving changes. Okay, I think that's done. 52.2. Yeah, wow, that's a record for me. That used what? That was what? 4 prompts? No, 5 prompts in one. 5 credits in one prompt. Sorry, that's a beast, and that was only phase 1. That's a record. All right, and so how would I test your idea? What would you expect to see now?
So if you run that, is it running right now?
Yeah, I mean, it should be. I'll refresh it. So I don't know what you wanted to see differently, but like we specified that we wanted to see our changes in Create Story. Like, where did you expect to see changes on the app?
Okay, wait. So if you go add community saves UI, preview latest. I think maybe if you just create a story.
Here's private, that's new. So that's private. So you're defining, like I can see some change there, right? That's different. So you can define story is now public. I don't know what that's going to mean when I click that, but share, is that what you expected to see? Share?
Yeah, go for share, Dan.
Public link, copy to clipboard. That's probably share externally.
Is there a change log anywhere where we can see what changed?
Oh, right. No, hang on. We've seen this. Can everyone see my screen? Is it? You should see the new tab.
QR code, Dan, top right.
QR code.
Should be able to scan that with your phone and see what it does.
So we can rate. Oh no, you need to sign into rate. So I need to be a new user. Sorry, I just I'm clicking too much. But hey, cool. Right. So we can see public rating. We've got shareability, QR code, still exports text, exports PDF with comments. This is good.
Nice.
So the QR code, what's the purpose? Sorry.
So in theory, you should be able to log in, view the stories, rate, and comment them. Right now, you need to log in though. So
okay, so this is the point where I'll give an example of publishing. So if we were doing a proper app here, we would review security and go, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to publish anyway. This will push the latest version to a URL that we can all test. Again, like I've dropped the credentials into the chat. It may or may not work, but it would take 1 second to set up a new user. You just need to drop in a dummy email and password. Okay, so the app is updated. I'm just going to copy the URL back into the chat. You should all, in theory, be able to access this now and have a play. Let's do like 10 minutes. Let's go at past. We'll reconvene with some feedback. I'm going to go and grab a coffee because my throat's getting pretty dry.
Can you put up the QR code?
I could put.
And sorry, just about the login. I know we've got your test one there, but what would it be normally? Our Lovable login?
No. This is just a dummy. It's just made up. Like it's just a layer. We built a layer of logging in for it to see.
Okay.
And what it will do, so
Temporary.
we could update that to like a Google login and stuff like that later on. So I'm just going to drop in the QR code that I took as a screenshot into the chat as well, so anyone's got that if you can't access it. But that should just be to a specific story, I imagine. Anyway, I'm going to go and grab a coffee. Let's get our hands on. You should have some AI credits should be hooked up to this. So it should generate stories. It should work. Let's play with our respective features and other features. And then we're going to do, we'll then go back into breakout rooms and we'll iterate our second prompt to build on what we find.
Okay, Dan, I think I have to go. I'm sorry.
Hey, no worries. Fantastic. Stefano, then we'll probably, I know you had a team before anyway, so the teams are now balanced.
Yeah, but I will see the recording to see the end of the meeting and we stay in touch for next week.
Yeah, I think this has still got legs, so we'll probably carry on building this. Alex and I did think about maybe like 3 weeks per project, but if it starts to fizzle out, we'll start fresh, or we'll iterate if there's still legs. Cool. All right.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
just drop the test link if anyone wants to try that. So I just made a dummy account with just fake details, and it should be. I don't know if anyone else has managed to create any stories.
In the middle.
Just working on it. Is there a difference now between the create story button and the landing page? We don't have those options, do we?
Yeah, so I think what's happening is we are on a kind of community or user-based account. So there's obviously one main one, which is the INSO account, to which we are kind of minimized users, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But that's also the thing, because sometimes like Lovable just does its own thing. Like you can loosely guide it, but you have to retrospectively figure out what all it's done. Like I see in the profile section, I can make a 3D profile picture. I don't know when we asked for that. I definitely don't think that's too
Sneaky ways of earning more credits is my suspicion.
Yeah.
It's life.
What I tend to do is iterate in using all the AIs until I've got exactly what I want, and then tell Lovable exactly what I want. Because in the past, if you leave it up to Lovable, sometimes it adds things you don't want, and then you got to retract them. And then, so from being burnt with credits in the past, I try to be as specific as I can.
I got Lovable.
It does come up with some good stuff he didn't ask for. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Sometimes that's a saving grace. I did get Lovable once because I got so frustrated with it getting into a death spiral, and I just couldn't get out of this thing. And even when I reverted the models, like the versions, everything seemed to be broken. And so I messaged them saying, look, like I've just wasted like 30 to 40 credits trying to fix your errors that you've self-admitted to in the chat. And I was like, I feel like you should reinstate my credits. When I roll back to the version that worked, reinstate the credits that were available to me at the time. And they were like, yeah, each user's got one token for that. And after that, it's expired. So yeah, if you do get into that, message their chat, they're pretty good, and they will reinstate some credits. If they do look at the chat history, and they probably saw my effing and blinding and realized how frustrated I was. Yeah.
Right. How do I save my story? It's created it. I've got an extra.
In version 1, we created autosave. So in theory, once it generates, it also should save it, so you don't lose it.
It should be top right. So there should be a save stories button.
Yeah, earlier that wasn't.
In the new version.
I can see one saved in mine called the Bustling Market Square. Is that yours?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's saved automatically. Yeah. Autosave.
Brilliant.
See one named Test?
No, so far there was a boy called Doug. This is probably because we're all using the same user, and it's like one story can generate. So I can see there was a boy called Doug and a Bustling Market story. So I'm going to create another user while we're waiting, just in case. Did you upload that profile image, Alex, of us? It's like a squash version of this session.
No, I don't. I did not.
That worries me how it's got that. I don't think we ever did that. Okay, bizarre. Yeah, so I've just created a new user, and the save stories are not appearing. So if someone could make one of their stories public, in theory, I should be able to access that as a public story somewhere. I think we probably need to improve your UI to make it clear, or maybe a bit more like Lovable, where there's like public stories display as a banner on the bottom of the homepage. That would feel logical to me, a bit like Lovable have done. But let me see if I can access it somewhere.
Do you mind sharing the QR, Dan, on the main version of Lovable? On one of the stories.
Well, I've just logged into my own one. I can't see the public one because save stories, the public stories don't appear there, which kind of makes sense, right? Save stories implies it's mine, but
How do I sign in?
Should be user on the top right.
Well, I've got a thing that's welcome to story mode. I've written a story and asked it to transform. Then it says welcome to story morph. Sign in to save your stories.
And that sign in doesn't work. Go back to the home. Go back. Maybe that second sign-in link hasn't been hooked up yet. But if you go back to the home page, you should see a sign-in on the top right, where you can either sign in or set up a new user. And then you might need to generate your story again if it hasn't, because you've essentially there. I think you've created a story that it doesn't know which profile to save it to.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we would need to then hook up that sign-in link to then create the account and be able to save.
Right, but so do I?
You probably lost that story. Yeah.
Well, see if I can.
I imagine, unless it's intuitive enough to retain local memory of that story,
You go back.
So I can see we've got 3 users set up so far. So my original Dan, we've still got a test@gmail.com, which I assume is Sue's if her story's saved.
Fine, but the story isn't saved for that, which is strange.
And then Danny at test.gmail, which I've just done as my second account.
Logged in with your login.
Yeah, I suspect what happened there is because we've all tried to simultaneously create stories that only Sue made it through. Maybe she clicked first, and that's like the dominant story now, and all the rest are running because the AI model runs, but the save function probably doesn't work because we're trying to save simultaneously, would be my assumption. But again, that's just intuition as opposed to from a technical point of view.
So I can't sign in at the moment unless.
Need to sign out.
Yeah. Maybe we all take one account. I mean, I'm logged back in here and I can still see it's just loading now, but yeah, it's kind of loading. Maybe it's wigging out because we're multiple people are trying to log in. So okay, I'm going to take Danny.
You can turn off authentication inside both. I think if you go to database, authentication, both settings. I think if you click on email and then disable enable anonymous users, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to disable email, save. And I've enabled anonymous users. Okay, so in theory, that's to save that change.
And that's normally for when you're testing rather than having to shed loads of user accounts.
Thanks, that's very, very helpful.
I'm going to prompt in a section that just says show the community. So that in theory, every account would be able to see everything. So So go live on that.
So yeah, and that would only show public, like stories set to public, flagged as public.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do that prompt while we're waiting then. Oh, it's time anyway. Everyone should be kind of back.
The good thing about this is it's obviously linked to Supabase, so you could completely rewrite the app, and in theory, the story should still be saved.
And it's interesting, I guess, for all the techies, when you do, if you make it public and you create a story in the live version, it also simultaneously appears in the UAT, which I consider to be kind of the Lovable version. Like, that's interesting to me because on other projects I've worked on, we have a designated UAT environment and a production environment, and the data only synchronizes across those if it's manually done. It's interesting that Lovable would choose to. Is that just because they have essentially the same database in the back, and there's like they haven't created two instances of it? Because just to save on cloud.
So say if you've made 20 changes to your production app and you go into the old version and create a new user, it will still create a new user in your new version, even though you haven't published it and updated it, because it's still the same database, but the old functionality won't work. This is the kind of thing that I find a little bit sometimes difficult because some things don't work in the Lovable environment. They only work in production, which is very difficult because you don't want to push things to production when you've not tested it thoroughly.
Have you ever come across it's like a weird phenomenon I find where like it doesn't work in UAT as you test real time. And let's say I like get frustrated and I switch off and I'm like, I'm coming back to it tomorrow. I open up and test again, and the feature that I designed yesterday that wasn't working has worked. It's almost as if something's cleared in the system and it's now started working with a delay. That's been for me like 3 or 4 times. So a pattern there where not always, but sometimes I come back the next day and it works. Whether that's because my system's cleared out or I don't know. But have you come across that?
I spent 2 hours trying to fix a bug and then found out that there was an outage, and I'm not sure whether it was Cloudflare.
Yeah, Cloudflare until 2:30.
But I wish you'd have told me because I basically spent 2 hours trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. So I think sometimes I always tend to refresh my page multiple times before when I'm not frustrated. When you're frustrated, you get impatient and start throwing prompts in. But if you can stay patient and clear-headed, you can just refresh your page multiple times. Sometimes I've even gone away, made a cup of coffee and come back and it's updated.
Makes sense now. I'm glad it's not me.
A delay.
Sometimes it's good to, Dan, you did a piece on this actually of system 1 versus system 2 thinking. But it's good sometimes to just take a break from it and get some space before you throw your computer.
My top tip is use the 5 free daily credits. And if you can achieve a small iteration and improvement on your product, walk away. It's a bit like gambling. If you're up, walk away from the table. And I only use my backup products to like maybe kind of, if it would take 7 to get it there, like I'm happy to use 2 more. But the second I start, like Terry said, throwing prompts in it, and the prompt quality is reducing rapidly because of my frustration and my human emotions are coming into this prompt, which doesn't help the system. Albeit sometimes my frustrated prompts do unlock it. Maybe there is some sort of sentiment analysis. Shouldn't, in theory, make a difference to what it does practically, but I don't know. Walk away is my top advice there. Yeah. Anyway, let's maintain momentum. We've got what 20 minutes or so before we need to kind of wrap up. But yeah, let's aim to get one more round of prompts in. Who have we got still on the teams?
We've still got phase 2 of our project. I don't know if you want to just quickly click that.
Okay. So have you? Okay.
It's phase 1.
So we've got the community section working now. Yeah.
Phase 2 of.
So if you guys refresh, you should be able to see community top right somewhere.
Yep.
Well, I'm not logged in, so I don't see anything.
Oh, okay, Doug's.
You are extracted from your prompt that you wanted AI generated 3D avatars. Looking through the history here, so it interpreted from your prompt that. So yeah, they weren't randomly; they were extracted from your prompt. But
I don't recall anything to do with that, so I don't know if it was me or not.
No, that was Team 2's prompt, I think.
The one thing that they do struggle with AI generated images is consistency of characters across images.
Noticed that.
You've got to give it with like Nano Banana, then you give it the image to create a scene off the first image, and it will do it kind of in sequence with the consistency. But if you're using any of the others, it basically generates afresh from the description.
Yeah.
That's something that they've all struggled with.
Yeah, I think there's one of the other things I'd love to see on here is where you can like protect certain things. So if there was like if it got it right once, you can like lock that in as like that's now your. If you're going to deviate from this thing, whether that's code, an image, or something is produced, you need express permission from me. A bit like earlier, it came up with the options and phased approach. I'd love it if there was a way of ring fencing certain features. Like maybe it's some sort of like visual, like in the visual edits where you can like visual edit, highlight a certain area, like a drag and drop, and be like, do not change this in any way, shape, or form, how it looks, or the underlying functionality behind this button without express permissions. Maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah, you probably need to create your character off it, and then add your character in here as an image.
Yeah.
And then say use this image for every single.
Yeah. As opposed
So
to it's got it in like memory.
It's going off the description every time, generating what it thinks is the.
Okay, so it picked up phase 2. I mean, I couldn't find it, but it picked up from the history that let's implement phase 2, and it's now doing your character library feature. So that's a pretty good example of it retaining some form of. Just let that work through. And Terry, should we start giving some thought to what our second prompt's going to be? I actually didn't have a chance to properly test out our form. 20 minutes now before the end of the call. It'd be cool to just do one further iteration on our idea, or at least just see if that works. And then we can call that a success on our side. And then same for, we got Doug back, cool. So yeah, we've got team 1 strong.
I got an invitation to join the breakout room.
Did you?
Yeah, no, just ignore that. I don't know what's happening.
Anyway,
It's pretty phenomenal what it's done in a couple of prompts, though.
Yeah, like we're.
So where you can rate it, you can heart it, you can, QR code works and
the rating system works. I mean, did anyone find any?
Yeah, the rating system. Yeah, there's a slight bug if you press it twice, it comes up with an error, but that would be quite easy to fix.
But yeah, I mean, Terry, if you just go back a couple of years, how long it would have taken you just to set up the server functionality of this? So.
Yeah, I mean.
Actually, really I love where this is going. Like some sort of like new version of social media where you're building a community centered around people who love building stories. Like it's not like the old school forums that used to exist around a shared passion. So I used to be part of a mountain biking forum where we'd spend all day talking about mountain biking, and it was infiltrated. It wasn't really infiltrated by crap. It was only people talking about the thing that everyone liked, and you could have sub forums talking about specific niches, and this would almost be like a more hands-on. You're building a story together. Not just talking about it, you're doing it together. I had an idea for a collaborative music building app a few years ago that would have been impossible to build. And this is kind of reminding me of that a bit. But you could maybe expand it to like Doug's point earlier about like, instead of it being just story writing, it could be like the platform could be about, for creatives, it could be about writing songs, it could be about building stories, it could be about movie generation, and you can implement all those together. So let's say we wrote a really nice script, the movie side of the community could then bring that to life with the visuals, and then the audio side of the community could then layer that with audio, and then you can see how it starts to snowball. I don't know, it's a really cool idea. I love where this is the perfect example for vibe coding. It spawned from a comment from Stefano, and look where we're going. Okay, cool.
Everybody's got an idea for an app, haven't they? Everyone you speak
Most
to.
of them are community based, aren't they? Or doing something with other people. Nice.
On Discord, there's an app that allows you to add bits to a story, and then other people add their bit. So could look at that and see anything to be learned from that. And I think it can generate bits of the story as well.
It's part of the the process Alex and I do with clients from the innovation side. It's like, innovation isn't always about reinventing the wheel. It's about cherry picking the best solutions from other problems that are similar, not even similar in the same field. You could, I have this technique where we define the problem and remove the specifics and say, like, what does this problem sound like? Where is it being solved elsewhere? And what lessons can be learned from the solutions? So it forces you to not kind of find solutions in an echo chamber. And this would be a great example, like, where else do communities collaborate you could learn from? And not even just communities, like, what other things involve collaboration? What lessons can be learned from that?
It's for solving scientific problems, like a better way of understanding quantum mechanics.
Amateur path
Or
with Ben, stopping the bleeds, drop that in here. Anyway, divert, we're going down a tangent. Anyway, so Alex's second prompt is finished. What would you expect to see? Refresh this to make sure we try and get ahead of any delays. What would you expect to see now? This is new characters.
Yeah, go for it. I don't see it on my side, but if you can test that.
I haven't published it yet, so we're still. You should just be sharing it in my screen, so it won't appear in the app until we publish the latest version.
Published it on the side.
I can see it.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. So we've got I can see character library, create a new character. What does that look like? Okay, so we've got forms and then make character public. Great. Okay, awesome. And then, so let's just, you can import in what format though? Would you import that as an image? Like me here?
That's another feature that's just checking.
Nice. Well, I was talking to a 3D printer the other day, not a 3D printer, a person who 3D prints. I'm not that crazy. We're talking about building, scanning 3D avatars and having your own avatar for future shopping. Even things like personal training. Imagine your 3D avatar is reflecting your gains or your weight loss or whatever your objectives are, and it's that then avatar is used for your online shopping when you're going to be shopping more in the metaverse and stuff like that. So I think some sort of upload feature of your avatar makes sense. Community, this is what I really want to see. So here we've got, okay, cool. We've got bustling market square. Are these actual generators? Is this AI generated? Or is that what ours is in there?
This is us, yeah.
Perfect. So I can in theory access these and iterate on them. That's really cool. It's loading. I can see 2 votes, so they're retaining for me. 5-star rating. I've got comments. I'm about to add a test comment in.
That's
Work
great.
together. I assume from this then we'd want to create some sort of like secondary chat that was isolated, a bit like the breakout rooms functionality, where you could then just talk to people who have engaged or almost like subscribed to this story. That's really nice. So we've got the ability to create stories, publish them, make them public, share them, interact with them, share them off the system with QR codes and direct links, log in. That's a pretty good, should we just break back into teams and do our next prompt? Or should we now maybe try and combine those in a kind of group prompt together? What do you guys think the next logical evolution of this?
It's got 15. I don't know where people need to run, so let's keep it together and see how we can. I mean, one feature that we could do is subscribing to someone. So if they've got a great story, keeping up to date with that, having like a subscriber list or a channel list or something.
So I'll go back to the whiteboard. Let me know when you can see the whiteboard. I should be sharing again. So if you come back to the whiteboard, let's ideate on here using green. Let's do this as our next round of prompts.
Be similar to your favorites.
Yeah. So horses for stories. Subscribe to creators.
Oh, to creators. So if you
Authors.
What was that, Sue?
Well, no, that is creation, isn't it? Yeah.
So in this case, like if Alex is a great story writer and I love following his stuff, I can subscribe to him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
So it could be follow or subscribe.
Okay. Do we want maybe subscribing is quite a 2-dimensional thing. Like I subscribe to someone on YouTube and then I just get to interact with their content or I get a notification. So that would require some sort of notification layer where they've released. We should probably have like layered subscriptions where it's like I'm subscribing because it's like view only. Almost like I just want to see what you're doing. There could be like a subscribe plus option where I want to collaborate with you, which says to you, I'm more than a subscriber. Like I like you and I want to work with you. Maybe there's a new layer to that.
Let's collaborate.
So different level.
Proposals to collaborate.
Be like a poke feature almost.
Old school, man. It's old school. Follow. Okay, let's do pokers like I'm interested in you, but I'm not quite like I want to let you know that I like you, but I'm not going to commit to following you because it's too much. Follow and then collab. Collab is like collab. I full on want to work with you. Are there any? Okay, that's fine. 3 examples. We don't need to worry about that. We can notification system. So we need to be able to control that, like define controls and methods. So that would be, I guess, in-app, email. Okay, maybe like what else would this feature look like if we could subscribe? Maybe we need some sort of like leaderboard. Maybe we need to show like who are the most influential people on the app. So, and then if we were going to monetize this, you start to look at the influencers, like who's going to generate the most content on our app and how do we reinforce it? Like blue tick, maybe some sort of like blue tick thing that people like, verified users, number of launched products. I'm just ideating here, please jump in.
Member of
I
law.
think I put, is there no ambiguous?
I think a leaderboard system would be really cool, actually. So by ratings, by follows, by posts, by characters.
Ratings by followers, by project, by just give it a leaderboard. Any other ideas? Because I'm going to do what I did before. Just drop this sticky note into
Features,
So what was that?
chat features, so you could DM your creator.
Chat features, DM. Probably enough for what? Probably enough. It's got all...
I think you said methods with an S, but
Where's that?
just where your cursor is.
I think fortunately, Lovable's got a pretty good. I've made some like in rushed. I hate it when you like half type a prompt and you accidentally hit enter. And surprisingly, it often kind of does what I asked for anyway, which maybe kind of reinforces the point that you don't need to overthink your prompts. But anyway, I'm just going to add this in to my Perplexity, which you can't see. It's already got a history of what we did before in Team 1. Generate a prompt to cover how to build these items. But now I need to specify it in our community section. I assume we want all these in the community section, right? Because that's where it's 10 minutes. Oh, 2 hours goes quick, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to drop the prompt back into our chat so we can view it, tailor it. This is Perplexities. We don't need to develop the section. I think we just need to add that to our current.
You know, on the character library,
Yeah.
could we add a feature where it would generate an image for that character?
Yeah, maybe let's park that one for next week because we're going to focus on this prompt for the
Okay.
last 10 minutes and then we'll just put a note down. But Alex, can you create a parking lot on our whiteboard and we'll just park that for next week and we can improve the character functionality. But just have a look for those who are happy, like crack on testing. That's awesome. This is all about concurrent activity. But can everyone just give this prompt a quick once over before we drop it in, and that'll be the final prompt of the day. Just to clarify what I did there, because Lovable doesn't know what we're looking at, it suggests it to create a new one. So I need to just change that to specifically point it to where we want it. So add to the existing community section offering. Add to the building it. Just adding to the existing community section a robust user engagement and creator discovery. Which makes more sense, including these capabilities.
What's the feature we're checking in the parking lots?
Is improve the characters.
Just an image. When you create a character, it will generate an image for consistency. That's all.
Yeah, and then I think to add on that, just put a note saying ability to lock it in, so it always uses whatever image we put in. It always uses its golden source, so it doesn't reinvent the character. It locks it in. Is the key there, I think. Any ideas to improve this prompt, or if there's any contradictions, just let me know. I'm going to just do influencer verified user badge when certain metrics are achieved, e.g. 1,000 followers, something like that. You can start to then control that, who gets that, because that needs to be something that's valued. Although I think Twitter, you pay for it now, so I think it's lost its effect in Twitter.
But then 2 lines down, you've got verification can be based on number of launch products.
Ah, there we go. Already anticipated that.
Choose one.
Yeah, let's just go give what it said.
What about or?
Verification can be based on number of launch products or other attributes. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm glad it picked that up. That's cool.
I can imagine it asking for phases for that.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's probably added a few more bullet points in. Yeah, so it's what it's done here. It's just, so we've got chat features shouldn't be, it makes more sense when you view it as Lovable as. Are we happy with it? Should we go with it? We've got 5 minutes left.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to drop that in now. While that's working, I'm just going to check how many AI credits we've used while we've been testing. Okay, so we've used, with all of us testing, we've used about, so we had 19, we've used less than $2 worth of AI prompts for all of our testing. Which I don't know, I don't know if that's a good, we probably maybe run like 10 stories through it. Is that a lot? I don't know. I haven't got much experience in AI pricing, but.
As a budget for testing, I would say that's not too excessive.
If you ask Lovable in the chat and you're happy to use a credit, it will tell you how many calls it's made and the cost per call.
Because we tried that on the last call because someone was like, hey, can we work out in advance how many credits this is going to use? I'd never tried that before. So we asked Lovable, if we were going to put in this prompt, how many credits would it take? And it was like, we can't say at this point. So it can't anticipate.
past prompts. I said, what model did you call and how many calls did you make? And what's the price per call? So not for future prompts, for past prompts, you can do it.
Maybe in the future it's going to, well, but then why would you do that? Like even if you gave a prompt and then there was a layer that said, we can get it done with 3 prompts, or we can, with like maybe 100% certainty, we can get it done in 3 prompts, or we can try and kind of go cheap on it and use 1 prompt, but there's only a 20% likelihood of success. Like, would users ever choose the 20%?
Yeah. It was more out of curiosity because I wanted to know whether I was getting ripped off or not, and whether I was, whether it would be better bypassing Lovable and just using my OpenAI key.
That's what Alex and I are thinking about.
The costs come out pretty similar. I think it was the cloud costs that seemed a bit extra than Superbase for me.
That's really helpful to know, actually. Probably something that Lovable would want to hear as well if they were presenting this call.
I think that's why they keep saying that it's in test phase and they're going to readdress it in December.
They'll work out if they can increase their margins.
A way of making extra. It's definitely a hidden way of making a few extra pounds.
Yeah, maybe slightly kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but with the agent mode, they can very easily, consume 10-20% more credits without the user ever realizing, because like a change that would take 0.1 credit one day and 0.2 credit the other day, user's not going to know that, and they've essentially just kind of taken all in. And it's like it's a really smart way of being able to, but it does require some integrity that they maintain at least a benchmark.
I do believe it's doing a better job than it was 2 months ago. So I think although you're paying more, I do think you get less errors and less having to go back and time and things like that.
Were you using it when they gave you the option to test between? It was really, I started using Lovable before agent mode was a thing, and then they introduced it as a feature where you could try it. And I definitely noticed, even like in the version 1 of agent mode, a significantly less errors.
Yeah.
Like I rarely get an error now, and if it does the like I self-correct it. Like let me try and fix this sort of thing. I think it's a fantastic tool. Like I think taking away all the stuff about going live and production and security and monetization. I think the way it's improving and the partnerships it's working with. Like I think it's just announced a new feature now where you can imply branding, like set branding guidelines, and it will just go off that. I think it's got some new cool integrations or partnerships with the likes of Notion and things like that. So yeah, it's and apparently 100,000. Yeah,
that Shopify is incredible. I mean, I know it's still having a few issues with it, but when they do get off the ground, that's going to open up a whole new world to people.
All right, well, we're at the 2-hour point, so I don't want to drag this call on. Been a really cool session, so much better than last week, I think. Doug, would you agree? It's much more.
It was great last week as well. We went round a few rabbit holes, but you can't necessarily avoid that.
But I think it's been much more productive. Like we've got more out of the app and the software. And so where are we at right now? So what did we want to see? Advanced social features. So in theory, I should be able to go into community and subscribe. I should be able to see different users, as I guess is the first point here. Systems being a bit slow. Anyway, we've got a subscribe option to different users. I can subscribe to test, poke, follow, or collab. Great. Let me poke test. I don't know who test is, but no, I need to log in to subscribe. Anyway, we'll maybe work out that later on, but we can see it there. My system's being very slow now. Okay, fantastic. Well, if you're all in agreement, I think there's more legs to be had on this. We'll do at least next week on it and keep going. And if we hit a wall and kind of realize that we could keep going down a rabbit hole, or do we get benefit of us as a community starting with a blank canvas? We're totally flexible. This call is about learning and about exploring and listening to everyone's ideas and getting ideas into action. And yeah, please invite anyone else along in your respective networks that you think might enjoy this and would get value from learning vibe coding or practicing it or improving or just thinking in new ways or meeting new people.
Awesome.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
See you later. Have a great day.
Thanks for organising. Brilliant.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cool. Cheers.